Energy is infinite once you recognize that the source of energy is living by the highest priority. Your highest value, your ontological identity revolves around them. In all probability, somewhere in your life, you've had a moment where you felt overwhelmed and burnt out, where you felt like you're just having so many things hit you at once and you just couldn't handle it all. And you go, enough's enough. Need a break. Well, the question is why do we have that? Why have we set ourselves up for that? And what do we do about it? And how do we recover from that state of awareness and consciousness and experience? So if you have something to write with and write on, you might want to take some notes. Every human being has a unique set of priorities and values. Now, you know I've talked about values in almost every presentation I do. This set of values, this hierarchy of values, this set of priorities, this list of things that are most to least and important in your life are unique to you, fingerprint specific, and determines how you perceive, decide, and act, and determines, in a sense, your direction in life, and therefore the hierarchy of your values dictates your destiny. Of course, your values can change over time, and therefore your destiny can be tweaked, and your life's journey is the summation of all those destinies along the way that make up your life's journey. Whenever you perceive that things are supporting your hierarchy of values, particularly your highest values, you tend to feel open and excited, you might say, elated, and you feel that, everything is kind of working. When things challenge it, you feel resistance again. You have inside your brain an autonomic nervous system, one parasympathetic, when things support the value, where you rest, and the other, the sympathetic, where things challenge your values and you awaken and excite, ready for fight or flight. Whenever you get too much support, it can lead to boredom. Whenever you get too much challenge in your perception, because it's perceptual, you can get burned out. Imagine if somebody come into a relationship with you, and I jokingly in my breakthrough experience program sometimes tease some female in there. I say, if I was to, and I get on my knees, and I say, if I was to say to you, I want to do whatever you want me to do, whenever you want me to do it, just tell me what to do. I just want to be everything you want me to be and everything else. They'll go, oh, get a life, boring. And they'll want a bit of a challenge too. They don't want a guy that's just totally submissive. They might want that occasionally, but they want somebody that stands up to them too, has a little testosterone and challenges them. But at the same time, if I say, look down on the girl and say, now do what I tell you or else, and I really challenge her and force her to do something she doesn't want to do, now she's burned out. So I first want you to know that anytime you get overly supported, you become bored and juvenilely dependent on that which you are supported by. And whenever you are challenged, you can burn out and become precociously independent and want to escape it. So you want to seek it when it's supporting you, want to escape it the other one. But if too much yin becomes yang and too much yang becomes yin, and in actuality, you need a balance. Maximum growth and development occurs at the border of support and challenge, boredom and burnout. In fact, in your relationship, long-term relationship, you'll have times when you're bored and times when you're burned out because they'll sometimes support and challenge your values. Now, if you are doing something that's high on your value and you have more of a balanced, neutral, objective viewpoint, you're not subjectively biased, but more objective in view, the probability of boredom or burnout goes down. Whenever you're doing something that is low on your values, that are unfulfilling, and you seek, as a result of that, a compensation from this unfulfillment, you seek immediate gratification and you want a pleasure without a pain, then when the pains come, nature has a balance of pleasure and pain, then you get even more burned out because you now exaggerate the pain because you're now more addicted to the pleasure. Anytime you're addicted to pleasure, the pain hurts more. When you're embracing both sides, pleasure and pain, the pain doesn't feel so much pain. That's why when you're pursuing challenges that inspire you, you produce. When you're trying to avoid challenges that aren't, you create distraction and, in a sense, distress. So one of the keys to transcending and going beyond the idea of burnout is to prioritize your life. Because in most cases, the reason why we're doing and having the experience of burnout is because we're feeling we're having all this stuff that we don't really want to be doing burdening us, and we're not prioritizing our life and finding somebody to delegate lower priority things to. If you're not dedicated to the highest priority thing and delegating lower priority things, you can guarantee you'll be overwhelmed by scattered other outside influencing and expectations. The way you know you have those is you'll hear yourself saying, I got to do this. I have to do this. I must do this. I should do this. I ought to do this. I'm supposed to do this. I need to do this. Anytime you hear those languages and those imperatives, it means that you've injected the values of others. You've tried to do too many things to please too many people. You're not prioritized and focused, and you're not super tasking where you're integrating all those things into one focus, and you're going to get burned out. You're going to get frustrated by the overwhelm of too many things at once, or things you don't want at once that challenge you. So it's one of the keys is to say thank you, but no thank you to opportunists that project their values onto you, or people that you subordinate to and inject the values of, and say thank you, but no thank you. In the Breakthrough Experience program that I teach, I take people that envy somebody and try to imitate somebody and put people on pedestals and inject the values into their life. I show them how to own the traits of those people. I call it owning the traits of the greats, and taking them off the pedestal and realigning so you're equal to them, so you give yourself permission to prioritize your life instead of living by other people's priorities. Anytime you've been infatuated with somebody in a new relationship, for instance, you'll find yourself initially sacrificing what's important to you to be with them for fear of loss of them. So you end up doing low priority, weird stuff that you don't normally do in order to be with them. And over the next few weeks, you eventually get frustrated by that. You start resenting that. You say, I want my life back, and you go back to priority. But anytime you infatuate with somebody and put them up on a pedestal in any of the areas of life, spiritual, mental, career, financial, family, social, or physical, and you don't level the playing field and you envy them and try to imitate them, you inject their values, you cloud your mind with all these expectations, shoulds, ought tos, supposed tos, got tos, have tos, musts, and need tos, and then you end up feeling like overwhelmed and burned out because you're trying to do something that's not really the most important or inspiring thing that you spontaneously love to do. When you're doing what's highest on your priorities, you don't burn out. I mean, I do programs 14 hours a day, sometimes even longer. I'm sometimes 16, 18 hours a day doing programs. And, people say, well, how do you do that? I've done that 59 days straight with programs. I don't get burned out on it because I'm doing something that inspires me and it's highest in priority that I love doing. And I've delegated most everything else off my plate. I don't have to do anything else except teach, research, and write and travel. So as a result of that, I don't get burned out doing what I love. You don't ever get burned out doing something you really are inspired to do. You can't wait to do it. But you will be burned out when you're doing things that aren't highest in priority, which are usually derived from trying to take on too many expectations, pleasing people that you put above you, injecting the values of people, again, you put above you, and trying to be somebody you're not. That's why Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. And why be second at being somebody else when you can be first at being you? So it's key. The key to not having burnout and to recover from burnout is to stop, make a list of everything that's on your plate, write all those down, what those distractions are, write down what you can do about it, if it's something you can do about it, write down who you could delegate it to if you can delegate it. And the more people you delegate to who are inspired to do it and are specialized to do what you could delegate, the more freed you are, and you're not going to get burned out that way. So delegate it, put a time frame on it, get it off your consciousness, have a system for it. So whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got some sort of prioritization system, and stick to priority. Find out the one thing that is most empowering to your life that you spontaneously love doing, that really makes a difference out there, that produces the most, and delegate the rest away. You will have more productivity, less distractions, and burnout. But burnout means that you're trying to do something that you're challenged by, that you're not inspired by, that you don't really love doing every day. And if you get onto priorities and give up the things that aren't, you'd be surprised. Now, some people say, well, I can't afford to do it. Well, I thought that too when I was 27 years old. I went out and bought a book called The Time Trap by Ellen McKinsey, and I realized that if I stayed doing everything, I was going to burn out and be frustrated and not produce. So I went ahead and hired people. And people say, well, when you're wealthy, you can do that. No, I got wealthy because I did that. I didn't have wealth when I started. In fact, I was scared to go out and delegate. I didn't know if I could afford it. But what I did is I hired the person and I got over to higher priority, more productive things. I produced more income. And then I made sure I got somebody when I delegated that produced more than they cost, and I made more income. And then I was freed up. I wasn't burned out by all the scattered activities, and I was able to go move forward in life. So prioritize your life and delegate lower priority things and dedicate to the highest priority things. If you do, you won't be burned out. And if you are burned out right now, make a list of everything that you're doing, everything that's on your mind, write down when it needs to be done, get reasonable on the time frame, write down everything that can be delegated. If you find you don't have anything to delegate, that means you're trying to do it all. And you can't possibly be inspired and productive and not burned out when you're trying to do it all. You can't do everything. You want to do the one thing and the things that are most inspiring to you and prioritize and delegate lower priority things. If you do, you won't be burned out. You'll be inspired by what you do. You'll have more energy. Energy is infinite once you recognize that the source of energy is living by the highest priority. Your highest value, your ontological identity revolves around. So whenever you're doing what's most authentic to you, what's most inspiring to you, most meaningful, most fulfilling, the thing you feel is your purpose in life, the thing that makes the biggest difference and contributes the most, and the thing you have most excellence and knowledge in, your core competence in, that produces the most income for you, you don't burn out. You get inspired and you can't wait to go to work. You tap dance to work, as Buffett says. And if you delegate it, you give job opportunities to others, you help the economy, you end up getting people and make sure you hire people that really love and their highest values what you want to delegate, and you liberate yourself from all the burnout and frustration and overwhelm and scatter that most people trap themselves in. It's not what's out there that's doing it. It's because you haven't said no. So be able to say thank you, but no thank you to people who are opportunists that want to take up your time. Make sure you don't put people on pedestals. Find out whatever you see in them that you admire and find out where you have it inside you, because at the level of your true self, nothing's missing in you. You can't look up to somebody without them representing a part of you that you may be too humble to admit you have, but you have. Find out where you have it, wake it up, realize you don't need to be sitting there and subordinate to other people. You can appreciate and have reflective awareness and see that what you see in others you have, and honor them and respect them and communicate what you value in terms of what they value, and both of you move forward in life. But don't subordinate, don't scatter yourself, don't try to be something to everybody. Prioritize in who you are and say thank you, but no thank you, and prioritize your life. And keep records of it on a form, because a short pencil is better than a long memory. If you try to keep it all in your head and not on some form that's prioritized form, you'll probably not do as well. But if you prioritize it, either on an app or on a piece of paper, I still use a piece of paper. I still love a piece of paper. Then I write down my priorities and stick to priorities and get on to the highest priorities each day. If you fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, it's not going to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. But when you don't prioritize it, you'll end up automatically burned out by scattering yourself and multitasking into all these areas that you think you've got to do, have to do, must do, should, ought to, supposed to, and need to do. That's not the way to live your life. A quiet life of desperation is not as empowering as a life of inspiration. So prioritize your life. Whatever is highest on your values, where you're inspired spontaneously to act. When you do that, you're fluent, you're congruent, you're efficient, you're effective, and you don't burn out, nor do you get bored, because you're inspired by what you do. So just want to share a few moments on how to transcend the burnout state, and also how to, recover from a burnout state. Prioritizing your life, it changes very quickly. You can take a burnout state and transform it in a matter of minutes once you prioritize and get on to track and delegate something. Don't be afraid to surround yourself with people that are more qualified than you to do the things that you want to delegate, so you can do the things that you love. Thank you for being with me. And if for some reason you'd like to learn more about prioritization and values, and you would like to make sure that you're not sitting there in burnout, please consider coming to the Breakthrough Experience. I've shown people how to transform their state from an inefficient burnout state and boredom state to an inspired state on a daily basis. The breakthrough experience is pretty extraordinary in helping people do that. If that's something you want to do, please join me at the breakthrough experience. I love helping people transform their lives and become more effective and efficient in doing what they love on a daily basis. Thank you for joining me today. See you on the next round.